Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about how the political class is or has not only lost touch with sort of any reality that the rest of us understand, but they've lost touch with the public at large, with the voters, with just the members of the society that they're supposed to be governing. They appear to have no concept of what the important issues are and what's important to the people. Some of this is from sneering contempt, and goodness knows there's plenty of that. But the time when I think it began to happen and happened fully was when the globalists took over the political class in the West, all the major parties, and then shielded them from any sort of hard or difficult questioning or exposure or scrutiny by the globalists also taking over the media at the same time. So, and this sort of the two events together changed completely the composition of the political class. Now, there's a time when people got into politics, not that long ago, got into politics as something not straight out of school or college or anything like that, but they'd go out and do something first. They'd achieve something in their own right. And maybe they start a business, or maybe they work as an executive in the corporate world, or something like that. Or in the case of, say, the Democrats or the left-wing parties, maybe they work as a trade union organizer and so on, but also would hold down a job. One of Australia's, as an example, one of Australia's prime ministers only 70 odd years ago was an engine driver, a railway. He worked on the railways, was an engine driver and a union organizer, and these people were part of the community, part of the society. They lived and worked. They had mortgages. They had children that went to school, and they went to the same school that your children went to, that type of thing. And so they were very much part of society, and their job, as they saw it, was to represent the people and put forward policies that would make people's lives better. Now, when they wanted to get elected, they'd go, I mean, this was, again, early days of television and so on. So it was like from a communications point of view, as in how do you reach the people? There was radio and there was early television, but the rest of it was that you went around and did town hall, went round to the town halls, and you spoke about, you said, well, these are my policies, or these are the political parties' policies. These are the policies. Went round to the town halls and you spoke about, you said, well, these are my policies, or these are the political parties' policies. These are the policies and if you like these policies, I want you to vote for me. So there was none of this focus group stuff where, so what do the people want to hear? What about we talk about how Nazis are everywhere? Yeah. Pedophiles are everywhere. Yeah, that'll get the women's vote. How women are oppressed by evil Hitler men. Yeah. So we'll invent the issues, pretend that they're issues, and then we'll say that we're going to do something about it. Wow, that is so fucking clever. And so that focus group concept of inventing issues, not that it wasn't done, but the scale of it, and there had to be far more reality in the claims than there are in the stuff, that the racism and Nazis everywhere that they make up today. So they had to go around and do the town halls, get up there and say, these are my policies, this is what I'm going to do if you vote for me. So they're not trying to invent policies, invent crises and thus policies that the people sort of get off on as in a sloganeering thing. They had to be real policies to make people's lives better. And this typically meant a better economy, more jobs, a cost of living, education for children, that sort of thing. So they had to really make people's lives better. And also all parents want their children to, at the very least, do as well as they did, but preferably better. And this was a very powerful incentive for politicians, certainly of the day, to direct their policies to saying, well, it's going to make things better, if not today, certainly by tomorrow, or the day after, this type of thing, and this was very much the sort of political activity that's implied or not implied. It was definitely where the politicians were part of the community, part of society, and if they could make lives better for the folks next door and down the road and on the corner, then their own lives would be better. So it wasn't that the politician would make their own life better. It was to be everybody was to get share in the bounty of policies, government policies that would serve the people well and improve their lives and so on. Now that's of course changed, and as the globalists took control of the body politic all across the Western world, there isn't not a single sovereign government in the West. Can you believe it? The richest, most creative, most powerful nations in the world, in the history of the world, that are responsible for 98% of all inventions, for creating the technology. Every bit of technology we see around us has been created in that small group and block of countries, and yet all of them have surrendered to the globalists, and the entire bodies politic of the West and all the major parties are controlled by the globalists, as indeed is the media. So that's changed a lot. But really, where did the politicians, or what time did they lose touch? Now, even when they were quite rich people taking up politics, they still had a noblesse oblige that it was their job, a noble obligation, a noblesse oblige to make the lives better of the people that voted for them. That was still there. And it was still a factor, whether they were rich or not. So these are people who were rich but filled with noble obligation, or had gone out and done something in their own right and then came into politics with a lot of life experience and so on. With the globalists taking control, this has changed. The politicians now, sure, they've lost touch with the public because their bosses aren't the public anymore. Their bosses are the globalists. And the globalists can make them rich, can make sure they get all the best deals with on stock market investments, that they can get the best access to the best deals on real estate and property, and flip properties for vast sums, and get access to very favourable financing for their real estate and their stock market activity. So the globalists can make these people very rich. So you can be some flunky two-bit stooge staffer in the office of some senator or congressman or politician. You've achieved nothing in your own right. You've gone from high school to college to study political economy or gender studies or some bullshit sociology, and you're in a politician, working in a politician's office as some flunky, some fetch and carry stooge. They think you're, they like a look at your face or something like that. The politician retires and they think, well, we'll put Billy Bob in there or Billie Jean or something. We'll put them in there, and that it's a safe electoral district. They'll get elected and they'll do exactly as they're told, and they'll be good globalist little stooges to do what they want. Now these people have gone, school, college, straight into politics. They live in the unreal world, but they're not their boss or the local member of parliament there or Congress. They're not responsible to people. They're responsible to the globalists. So these kids pick that up. So, well, gee, I know the boss is. It's not those bums that vote every few years. It's those globalist guys with the big checkbooks, the big pay books. Who keep coming around with these great real estate and stock market deals for us to, so we can get our sleazy shithead snouts in the trough. Those are the guys who are in charge. So I report to them. Whatever I do is to make them happy, not those idiots that, not the hoi polloi, not the plebeians out there that think they're voting for a government. So these people live in an unreal world, and they're able to enrich themselves very quickly with globalist, big end of town financial help and guidance and assistance. And so their lives are fine. Their kids are going to go to private school. They can afford the very best medical care and so on. Even though politics doesn't pay that much, they, they're very well looked after again with all their investments and so on. Their wives or mistresses can be very well looked after. If their kids are a bit older, then they suddenly find themselves employed in very, very well paid jobs. I mean, he was a former senior politician in Australia, where his daughter, on the day she turned 18, was given a $200,000 a year consulting job with lots of international travel. 18. She's a fucking bimbo, for Christ's sakes. So these are the sorts of things that go on. So these people have then, until they report to the people again, these politicians, instead of the globalists, then this disconnect between the political class and the people will continue. The only way the political class will understand the problems and challenges of the public and the voters is that they have to live that same life in the same conditions, not in some bubble, but the same life and conditions. So their access to these incredibly canny investments where you can buy a house for $1 million and sell it a year later for $3 million or $4 million, those sorts of things, the public doesn't have access to that. And nor should these people. If they want to win government and want to do well for themselves, then they should make sure that the nation is doing well and they've got the policies to make people's lives, including their own, better. And that's something we've lost since the globalists took over. So is there a disconnect? Absolutely. Now, there's a federal election coming up in Australia over the next few weeks, and just looking at the politicians that are out there and what they're talking about, and they say, "Oh, climate change is the biggest issue. We just have to pay lots and lots more for energy, for electricity and heating your homes and cooling your homes, just for cooking. We just have to pay a lot more because we're saving the world. And if you've got a problem with that, you damn fascist Nazi Hitler." And these are the sort of people that are running around out there saying that's the primary issue. Vote for me because that's the issue. Now they may get the inner city lesbians or the college sociology college kids voting for them. I suppose that's possible. But gee whiz, who would vote for that? Then there's another politician. In fact, I saw the advert maybe an hour ago, I suppose. This is online. The three big issues are climate change and respect for women. There's not enough respect for women, and I'm going to have policies to force those damn fascist Nazi Hitlers to respect women more. And any guy who's against that is Hitler. And of course, it's only white guys who do this. Only white guys are the oppressors. Evil white guys are the oppressors. They're all Hitlers. And laws have to be brought in to make sure that women are respected. And there's shots in background of women who claim to, unproven in a court of law, by the way, who claim to have been raped or well, not raped, but well, in one case it was raped, an allegation of rape, but who claimed that there was a guy 20 years ago that touched them on the bum or something like that, and that's crescendo, special laws needed, Hitler, and where there was one other thing. Protecting women, climate change, and there was something equally. That's right, to stop racism. So racism is everywhere. Hitler. So this is again these invented things that are supposed to be the biggest issues. What about the cost of living? What about making sure that pensioners on a limited income can afford to heat their homes in winter or cool them in summer, and making sure these people have got enough to live on? What about making sure that the children are getting a quality education instead of being, having all this critical race theory crap stuff down their throat and so on? Cost of living generally. What are young families wanting to start out and buy a house, have children? That's all this sort of, there are many things that people are concerned about, but it's all things as a result of globalization that's being forced on us without our consent. But instead, they're going off on all these other issues, respect for women or something in the workforce. I mean, fuck, global warming and all this sort of stuff, climate change and whatever. So these are the issues that they're talking about. I don't think there's a single politician that's actually talked about. If there is, I'd love to know. The very minor parties, maybe the ones that have got no political representation at all. But of the major parties, of any party that's likely to form a government or be part of a government, I'm not aware of any one of them that has talked about the key issues that people are concerned about, such as the cost of living and how unaffordable housing is, and how Australia and the West generally has become just a giant real estate money laundering scheme for all the rich goons around the world. The Chinese Communist Party generals, the corrupt Brahmins from India, and all that sort of stuff. The Russian oligarchs or whatever. But these are issues that are certainly not being talked about or addressed. There's this pretense that the most important issues are the respect for women, or that there's racists everywhere, the Hitlers everywhere, and this sort of stuff. And until the politicians start talking about the key issues, or the ones that do, are the least likely to form government. But any chance that any of the parties have that form government, they're not talking about these things, or they're giving it bullshit lip service, but have no policies to address it or do anything about it. So that's the disconnect, as I said. As long as the globalists control all the Western politicians, and they do, then that disconnect is going to be, is very real. And what can be done about it until the globalist control has been broken, and until the politicians step up to represent the people, the societies they purport to represent, until they step up to do that, then that disconnect will continue. And I believe will get worse, to the point where, like with Pol Pot or Stalin or any of these places, that the extent of the disconnect will be such that if the government will think, if you're not even ideologically on the same wavelength as me, and because of that, I can now kill you. And I don't think that's far away. It sounds high-handed, but already you can be depersoned, your bank account can be closed, you can be made unemployable anywhere in the economy. And there's only one more step you can go, other than arbitrary imprisonment. They're already doing that. Look at January 6th. There's only one step beyond that, and that's killing people that don't agree with you. And I don't think that's far away. I mean, it sounds terrible to say that, but I do believe it's not that far away. I hope it never happens. But I see that. Well, if you looked at Cambodia and Soviet Russia, China, and all these places that went full-on ideological communist, nobody could have forecast there'd be the scale of murder and mass murder that went on there. You wouldn't even have dreamed of it, but yet it happened. It happened. It was very, very real. Millions of people dying simply because they had the wrong ideological perspective. And I see that we're making those same mistakes again. I see we're heading down that same path, and I hope I'm wrong, but I do believe it's no longer just a thought. It's a likelihood. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.